Hello everyone and welcome to this bonus episode at CCM this week. No track guides for the daily races because quite frankly they're turd and no one in their right mind wants to do any of that. However, what we have been gifted is an update, and updates often bring amazing things, and this week is no different. So much content, so much incredible stuff being added into the game, and this lovely little Mitsubishi is one of the things that has been added. And if you are a man or a woman and you're thinking, yes, 2 million sounds tasty and I'd like some of that, but I don't know how to get around this track and use this car, I am the man to help you out, and here we are. I've done a little lap time. My lap time currently puts me 17th in the world, a 10th or so away from the top 10. Pretty solid lap, I'm pretty pleased with it. So yeah, if you want to know how it's done, let's get into it. Right, here we go then. I've recorded this 1,000 times, so this one's going to have to make do. As we head down to the first turn, in between the 100 and 150 is your marker to be braking, probably closer to the 100. Using all the track on the left hand side to really open up this bend. As long as you've got a couple of tyres on the red and white curbing, you are good to go. Now, you're going to shift down twice into third gear for this bend and exit in fourth. And you want to downshift really quickly because on these road cars you gain so much time by downshifting quickly, and you're going to keep the car in a straight line, and just as you've gone past that 50-meter board, that's your cue to start turning in and releasing the brake, and that's going to really get the car to rotate. The rear's going to go light and you're going to enter a slide, and that is key to the lap time at this track with this car. So as you can see, that happens here, and then once I've got this perfect rotation and I'm in this slide, I don't need to do anything. I've got no inputs, I'm just turning around the bend, and the slide will remain the same until I shift up to fourth and get on the power, which I do immediately. You can use all of that inside curbing as long as you've got a couple of tyres on the red and white. You are good to go. And you fly up here, rev the car out up to 7,500 RPM. And when you get on the power, you have to get on fully. There's no modulation, no hesitation. You have to go full on the power. It's the key here. And as we head up to the second turn, just before the 100-meter board is your marker to be braking. Down into second for this one. Again, change down as fast as the game allows you. If you're running wide, you're just not changing down gear fast enough, basically, because changing down gear will really get the car to stop. For this bend, because of what I said with the throttle, you really need to apex this late. That's why I'm using all the track on the left hand side here, getting a little rotation at the end, back up to third for the apex, full power immediately. You can run all the way wide. You just do not want to lift off and be gentle on the power, because you really want that turbo boost to kick in. It'll make a huge difference on your exits. As we head down to turn 3 now, in between the 100 and 150 is again your marker for this turn. You go down from 5th to 2nd, and the engine braking is going to be so strong in second gear. As soon as you start tipping into the turn, the car's going to want to rotate. So just make sure that you're rotating in quite late. If you turn in too early, you're going to be in a mess. The rear end's going to come round and you're going to end up on the grass. So that's not pretty. So make sure you turn in nice and late. The car's rotated. Again, when the car's in a sweet rotation like this, I don't need any inputs. The rotation will remain the same. I just continue steering, don't need any brake or throttle. But immediately back up to third for the exit, and that little white hut on the right hand side is my cue. Once that's gone past my screen, I can get fully on the power and head up. Stay in fourth here, and you're going to stay in fourth for these next 2 turns. Rev her out just before the 50-meter board is your cue to be braking, but this time you want an early rotation. How do we do that? When we're braking now, we're going to be turning and braking at the same time, and that's going to immediately throw us into a slide. Again, I've got the perfect slide I've wanted already. It's heading in the right direction, so I lift off the brake, don't need anything, and then just as I get closer to the apex, I realise I need the car to slow down a bit more, and then getting on that brake just a little bit will just steady the car some, and obviously slow me to the correct apex speed for this bend. So for these next couple of turns, you want to initiate the slide and then play with the brakes a bit. Lift off if you're in the perfect slide, and just let the car do its thing. But then if you need the car to steady up a bit, just get back on that brake just that tiny bit. And here for this bend, you can see in the distance there is a blue/black and white barrier just in front of that grandstand. That is my key to get on the throttle. Now as soon as that barrier, the end of it on the right hand side, as soon as that exits my screen, I know I can get on the power. Now boom, slightly hesitant, which loses me a bit of time, but not too bad. As we run towards the end of this curb, this is my cue to get on the brakes as soon as this curbing finishes and this little extra bit of track begins. This is the other turn. Don't go on the brakes too hard, because as soon as you start braking and tipping in, it'll initiate the rotation, which is what you want. Keep all the momentum. Again, not using much of the brakes here. I'm just about to lift off because I've got the nice rotation I want already to send me into the apex, but just as I get that little bit closer, I know that I'm running with a bit too much apex speed. I need to hold the car into the apex, so just that extra bit of braking at the end will steady the car, get me perfectly on the line. And on the left hand side, you can just see there's that little box there with the two men on the inside of the barrier. Once that's on the side of my screen, then that's my cue to get on the power. Now boom, off we go and head towards the penultimate bend. This one's a bit different. You want the rotation later for this bend, so make sure you save your lifting off the braking and turning in quite late. So the initial braking here, 100-meter board, that's when you want to get on the brakes and go down one gear into fourth, but do not turn in yet, or do not lift off the brakes yet, because otherwise you're going to get the rotation way too early. So as you head down here, not turning in, as soon as you've gone past that final 50-meter board, now as you can see, I've just started to turn in and lift off the brakes, and that's going to initiate a nice late rotation. You really want to apex this one quite late. Here's my rotation. Again, I've got it, so I've lifted off the brake and the throttle, and the car holds its rotation. And as soon as I can see that the track is opening up, which it is now, I'm at the apex, the track is opening up, and I can get fully back on the power and run her all the way. Again, use all the track on the red and white curbing. Is totally legal. And just before that Austrian flag on the left hand side, the red and white stripe comes to an end, just before that comes to an end, I'm on the brakes for this one. The camber on this bend will actually rotate your car quite nicely, so you don't have to worry too much about the rotation on this one. But again, just the concept of turning and braking ever so slightly will just help that car come all the way into the turn. And again, use all of the track, cut this as much as you want. As long as you've got your two tyres on the red and white curb, it's totally legal, so make sure you do that to really open up the track. And again, full throttle straight away, all the way to the finish line to complete your lap of the Red Bull Ring. So as we watch this Evo go around for one final time, I just wanted to go over a few points about this car and track. The first of which has to be the braking. You've got to downshift so quickly with this car and all the road cars. The engine braking is so powerful, it really just gets the car stopped. So just make sure you're going down all those gears as fast as the game allows you, because otherwise you're really going to struggle to get the car stopped. The other point is the rotation. There are two ways to initiate it with this car, and that is either turning and braking at the same time when you're going into a bend, or if you're already braking in a straight line, when it comes to tipping the car in, if you start to turn and lift off the brake at the same time, the car will also rotate. So it's really good to practice both of those, because it will really help improve your lap time around these tracks, because the lap time for the road cars really does revolve around how effectively you can rotate the car, and finding that perfect balance between keeping up the corner speed but allowing the car to turn in. The other thing, this is a turbo car, so like I said, in most of the bends you want to be using those higher gears and getting on the power straight to 100%. No modulation. I do love modulating the throttle, but with this car you really want to make the use of that turbo boost, so just make sure you're fully on the power and not hesitating at all, because it will really gain you a lot of time down the start finish straights. But that's really it. There's no modifications or tuning with this lap, so you haven't got to worry about any of that. You just got to make some money and life is good. But yes, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully next week we'll have a better daily race, and if that is so, we will see you then. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later. Boom.